How was your summer service trip? This seemingly simple question is one of the most difficult questions to answer. I could say good and robotically regurgitate all the reasons, facts, and statistics already available to the public. I could say eye-opening and pretend like I learned something that completely changed my worldview. But honestly, however acceptable those answers may be, if that's all I got out of the trip, I wasn't invested enough. For me, my trip to the border was frustrating, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, and depressing. My experience in conjunction with my Christian values lit an incredible fire within myself to inform others of the truth at the border. On Monday, August 11th, I woke up in Nogales, Arizona with much uncertainty matched by much excitement. The day's agenda was a hike through treacherous terrain traversed by migrants and church with Mr. James and Miss Sue Chilton of the Chilton Ranch. Mr. Chilton is an Arizona State master program educated, fifth-generation rancher on new bought land after serving as senior vice president and manager of the Shearson American Express Public Finance Division, currently known as the Lehman Brothers. After the exhausting hike, church with the Chiltons didn't seem like a bad idea. After service, they even fed every single one of us. We thanked them and gave them our undivided attention to hear their opinion on the border. As Mr. Chilton began reciting Trump's rhetoric, his supposed Christian values slowly faded away in a fashion of gross mischaracterizations and overgeneralizations about migrants. However, regardless of the Chiltons' beliefs, my values of patience, understanding, and kindness gave me the ability to look at the Chiltons as human beings regardless of their irrational and prejudicial beliefs. On Tuesday, we were tasked with going to a soup kitchen in Nogales, Mexico, named El Comedor. Here, we would serve food and enact a ministry of presence while learning about, appreciating, and understanding the migrant situation through conversation. As we pray and preach in the spirit of Ignatius, serve as they deserve, and to give without counting the cost, I personally had the chance to bring food to a 13-person family waiting for their asylum claim in downtown Nogales, Mexico. The family was comprised of 2 parents, 2 aunts, and 1 uncle with 4 girls and 4 boys, ranging in ages from 3 to 12. They lived in an approximate 18 by 12-foot shack with no air conditioning. During my time there, the family illustrated their trauma. Imagine having half your salary extorted and kids primed for gang initiation where they become members or prostitutes by force. Visualize a midnight escape and weeks of travel through 2 other countries just to be denied at the U.S. border. Envision the uncertainty of being homeless, concerned about finding the next meal, clean water, and where to sleep. At this point, I had never been so thankful for the privileges of living with a roof over my head, never being hungry, and going to a high school, let alone a private Jesuit institution. When we got back to the house, I went to the bathroom and bawled my eyes out. The gravity of their situation was setting in, and my desire to help was overwhelming. However, as I began to juxtapose my reality from Monday and these most recent events, I became livid. I was fuming at the fact that Mr. Chilton and many alike consciously lie in the name of money and bigotry while claiming Jesus as their Messiah. The family I met was nothing like how Mr. and Miss Chilton described the invasion, as they called it. The family I met was not going to take anyone's job or hurt anyone. The family I met was desperate for a better opportunity and willing to work harder than anyone else to get it. However, here I can also admit that I fell short of Jesus' perfect example. Although I strongly disagree with the Chiltons' point of view, it was wrong of me to have any type of animosity towards the Chiltons. Wednesday was much anticipated. Police brutality is a mainstay in the U.S., so I was more than ready to talk to Border Patrol, specifically about a rather disturbing case I discovered. In 2012, 16-year-old Jose Garcia was shot 10 times by a Caucasian Border Patrol officer. It took the officer 34 seconds to unload 7 shots into Jose's chest and back, move 45 feet, reload his gun, and fire 3 more into Jose's lifeless body on the ground. The officer said he shot in self-defense because Jose was throwing rocks at him over the 20-foot wall of steel slats. In court, the officer was acquitted of all charges despite evidence of his actions as racially motivated. With this event at the forefront of my memory, we arrived at the Border Patrol headquarters, and my primary question was, what is your response to the death of Jose Garcia? Time slowed as I asked my question, anticipating what the officer would say. I expected a polished answer that accepted responsibility for what happened and addressed any practical preventative measures being taken since. Instead, he picked up a rock off the table in front of him and explained how that rock could kill someone. As my heart exploded and stomach sank, I let him move on. My mind was racing, urging me to call him out for the obvious differences in the use of force. I felt that this blatant disregard for the importance and severity of a situation which resulted in Jose's death was malevolent and criminal. Not only was responsibility dismissed, but no measures had been taken to address the situation. He acted as if Jose's life didn't matter and that 10 gunshots over 1 minute of time equaled one thrown rock. During my 1 week at the border, this event at Border Patrol had the most profound impact on me. After witnessing the desperation exhibited by migrants looking for a better life, I could only imagine how Jose's family felt. Unfortunately, Jose's murder is not an isolated occurrence. Police brutality influenced by racism, again, seems to be a mainstay in American law enforcement, and reminiscing about the 2017 bathroom incident, I can only imagine the fear Jose and many alike felt before their untimely death. With this sickening memory in mind, I was appalled at the immoral and unethical apathy at the border for yet another young brown man's life. Therefore, when I returned from Arizona with the rest of the group, informed by my new experiences and Christian values, I vowed to raise awareness and create change. Every day I set out to bridge the gap between my peers by sharing the migrant stories and using my multicultural background to relate. Through speeches like these, photo and video journalism, and everyday conversation rooted in a desire to follow Jesus' perfect example, I have been able to change some of my colleagues' minds or at least make them question their beliefs. In the future, I will continue to articulate the hardship at the border through regular discourse and peer education while creating a border initiative club and committing to help immigrants in the greater Baltimore area. While a lot of ground is still uncovered, raising questions and creating conversation about the border is essential to creating long-lasting change. It behooves people as a whole to love our neighbor as we would ourselves. What you do for the least of these, you do for me, and ultimately, we are all human beings. We all bleed red.